Hey there everybody, and welcome to Frontline Tutorials. I'm Edessa Carrick, here to teach you the ins and outs of Star Wars The Old Republic, which is an epic online game from the equally epic BioWare. Since SWTOR just went free to play not all that long ago, there's been a big influx of players to the game. And being a noob in an online game can sometimes be frustrating, complicated, and even intimidating with all of those high-level veterans running around. At Frontline, we're making quality, informative tutorial videos to take away a vast majority of the frustration, complication, and intimidation that comes with being a noob, so you can focus on just having fun. 'Cause, hey, if a video game isn't fun, then the developer's doing it wrong. Our first video is all about lingo, jargon, slang, whatever you want to call it. Online games have their own vernacular, vocabulary, and abbreviations. And if you're going to play an MMO, it's basically a given that you're going to have to learn the language. After all, you want to be able to know what another player is talking about when he says something along the lines of, "Yeah, I was playing my alt DPS yesterday, but this troll trained a mob at my Toon while I was AFK. This tutorial will teach you some of the more popular and most often used MMO jargon, the kinds of words and phrases that you'll be most likely to use both in SWTOR and in other MMOs. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's a good start for anyone who has never really encountered MMO speak before. We'll get the ball rolling with the word Toon. A Toon is your character, or someone else's character. You can also call it an avatar, or a PC, which in this case stands for player character, not personal computer. NPC, non-player character. Any other character in the game who is not controlled by a player. NPCs are computer controlled, and can be enemies, mission givers, or just random people standing around and doing basically nothing. Animals are also included in the NPC category. Mob. A mob is a group of enemy NPCs, because for some reason, bad guys prefer to fight in groups. Unless, of course, they're a boss, an enemy who's more powerful than most others at your current level. They're tough, stubborn, fast, and are likely to kill you 10 times before you kill them. Class. Think of this as who your Toon is. In SWTOR, there are classes like Sith Warrior, Smuggler, and Imperial Agent. Each class in an MMO has its own roles, gear, restrictions, everything. Class is what you are, whereas role is what you do. Do you heal people? Do you inflict a lot of damage? There are a handful of roles that are standard to your average MMO. Tank. A tank is a defensive player who focuses on defending weaker Toons from mobs, bosses, and other random enemies who happen to be out and about. Tanks use an ability called a taunt to lure the enemy to him so the enemy isn't whacking on the healer or the damage dealer. In a group setting, you may have two types of tanks, main and off. The main tank is the one who charges into battle first and takes the brunt of the enemy's attack. Off tanks grab the stray enemies that the main might have missed, and just generally make sure that the enemies stay focused on them rather than going to pick a fight with the DPS. Healer. She does exactly what you think she'd do. Heals other Toons. Healers are usually the most fragile Toons out there, because they wear lighter armor and have to stand in one place to heal other players. If you have a big group of players, you may have two healer types, main and off, just like the tank. Main healers usually focus on healing the main tank, because he's taking so much damage. Off healers heal everybody else, so the main can focus on the main tank. DPS, damage per second. While tanks are usually defensive, DPSs deal the damage to the enemies. They hit hard and fast, and are usually offensive. Rogue, or Wildcard. These are Toons that don't have a specific role. They dabble in a lot of different roles, but they're not as good at healing as a player who's totally focused on healing, and they're not as good at dealing out damage as a Toon who is a DPS. After classes and roles, there are 2 more subcategories for Toons. Main. If you have more than one Toon, your main is the one you've spent the most time and money on, working to get him to be the best Toon out there. On the other hand, we have alts. Alt is short for alternate. If you have more than one Toon, your alt is the one that you don't play as often as your main. My main in SWTOR is a trooper, but I also have 6 other alts that I like to use. That was all terminology dealing with just Toons. Let's move on to some terms that deal with gameplay specifically. Respawn. After you kill an enemy NPC, he usually lays there for a minute or 2, and then disappears. If you stand there long enough, the NPC will suddenly reappear exactly where you found him, and with his health completely restored. That's respawning, when an enemy comes back to life, so you or another player can kill him over and over and over and over again indefinitely. Related to that is camping. Camping is when you stay in one small area and kill every respawn over and over and over again, usually to gain more experience points. Depending on how thorough or stingy you are, some other players might think that you're being rude by camping, because you don't give them a chance to kill anything. Just something to consider in your gameplay. Experience, or XP. If you play an MMO, experience is going to be your new best friend. You need experience to get to the next level, and the way you get it is mainly by killing enemy NPCs or by completing missions. Loot. When you kill an enemy, sometimes you can take stuff called loot off of his corpse. It sounds wrong, I know, but you can get some nice stuff this way. In SWTOR, light blue lights coming out of the NPC mean standard loot. Green lights mean premium. Dark blue one is prototype. And yellow is something you need to complete your mission. Ninja looting, otherwise known as stealing. When you're in a group and one player starts looting all of the dead enemies before anyone else can, that's ninja looting, because he's looting fast like ninja. Please don't do that. It's rude, inconsiderate, and stealing in the end, because that guy's taking all the loot that the other people in the group work to get too. Share and share alike. Kill stealing, or KSing. When you kill the enemy that another player is fighting without asking for permission to intervene. Also bad, because the majority of the XP will go to you instead of the guy who's been hacking at the enemy for a good 2 or 3 minutes. Training. When you run around with a mob following you, like a train. It doesn't help anybody, and usually you end up running the train into another group of players, which doesn't usually make their day. Please don't train either, if you can avoid it. Buff. A buff is a temporary action that boosts another player's or your own abilities. A buff could increase the damage you wreak on an enemy by 5% for 15 seconds, or something else like that. They give you a little extra edge, and that can be pretty handy. Crafting. In most MMOs, you can give your Toon a job. He can be an armor maker, someone who makes healing spells, anything else like that. And crafting is when you put your Toon to work, making something related to his profession. An armorer might craft a helmet, which can then be sold or given to another player, or worn himself. The last big part of MMO speak are the chat abbreviations. Here are some that you'll find in handy. PvE, player versus environment. This is a type of game where you're walking along, minding your own business, and then an NPC takes a pot shot at your head. And because that's not very nice, you shoot him in the head back. The NPC is part of the environment, and the environment is out to get you. Player versus environment. PvP, player versus player. It's like PvE, except other players are also trying to kill you. It's not just the environment. AFK, away from keyboard. You type this into the chat box to alert other players that you're away from your keyboard. maybe to get a snack or to go to the bathroom. And you write this so they don't attempt to talk to you while you're gone. LFG, looking for group. You type this in the chat when you're looking to form a group with other players. Make sure to mention what mission the group will be on, so other players can decide if they want to join or not. WTB, want to buy. Sometimes people post stuff that they'd like to buy in the chat, in hopes that a crafter will sell it to them. I honestly don't know how effective that is, but it probably works overall. INC, incoming. Usually means that there's a mob running towards a group of people, sometimes as part of a train. If you see INC in the chat, get your weapons out, just in case. And there you have it, a comprehensive explanation of the most common MMO phrases, terms, and abbreviations that you'll see floating around. Again, not an exhaustive list, but it should give you a good head start into the wacky land of MMO jargon. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you back on the front lines.